Hi. For my final presentation, I'm going to talk about the effects of classical music on the ADHD brain. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the ADHD brain versus the non-ADHD brain. What is the difference? ADHD is a brain disorder. Differences in the brain structure, which are size of lobes, and also the difference in networks, which are several major networks between lobes that work differently, and the differences in the neurotransmitters, which are chemicals that transmit signals through the networks that work slower. And these are the root cause of symptoms in ADHD. Overall brain volume and the volumes of 5 brain regions were slightly smaller by a few percent in ADHD brains. More than 1 in 20 people under 18 have ADHD, and 2/3 of those people continue to experience symptoms as adults. The most common symptoms in ADHD include inattention, distractibility, lack of memory, difficulty following directions, and point to deficits in executive functioning, which is centralized in the frontal lobe. Science also points to a deficit in listening and language processing skills in ADHD, resulting in deficits of working memory and use of cognitive strategies. The frontal lobe, which is responsible for attention and executive functions, sometimes matures years later in ADHD brains, and could explain why sometimes symptoms get better into adulthood. Brain volume images showed less percent differences between ADHD and non-ADHD adults, which supports the theory of delayed development in ADHD. Treatment typically involves medication, nutrition, exercise, and CBT. Music therapy. I'm interested in music therapy because it is now considered an important part of treatment strategy. Music, more than something to focus on. So, how does it help? In 2014, a brain imaging study was conducted, and it showed that musical training is linked to improvements in executive functioning, and changes are attributed to the type of music experience for the musically trained versus the non-musically trained. While processing music involved with the whole brain, trained musicians process music mostly on the left side of their brains, while inattentive listeners process music on the right. Music increases dopamine levels, builds a stronger network connections. Music provides structure. Rhythm is structure, and structure appeals to the ADHD brain by providing order, helping anticipate and therefore react to others. Music fires up synapses. Imaging shows music activities both the left and the right lobes, helping to train brains to build focus, language processing, and impulse control. Music is social. Music is a collaborative process that requires turn-taking, listening, and anticipation of changes, and picking up of social cues. Does all music benefit equally? Some say no. Why? Classical music has a unique rhythm structure, symmetry, clarity, and detailed ornamentation that stimulates and alters brain waves, putting listeners in a relaxed but intellectually alert state of mind, which also increases the level of dopamine. Research shows students who listen to classical music for 20 minutes a day have improved speech and language skills, stronger memory, and greater organization of the brain. Listening to jazz or pop or even Beethoven didn't produce the same response seen when participants listened to Mozart. A study conducted at Sapienza University in Rome, Italy, shows adults who listened to Mozart's music showed a temporary increase in brain wave activity linked to memory, understanding, and problem solving. The researchers suggest the rationale and highly organized arrangement of Mozart's sonata stimulates the cerebral cortex, which is a part of the brain that is responsible for high-level mental functions. One of the distinctive features of Mozart's music is the frequent repetition of the melodic line. This determines the virtual lack of surprise elements that may distract the listener's attention from listening, and each element of harmonic and melodic tension has a resolution that confirms listeners' expectations, and this reinforces the focus of the listener. Dr. Thomas Brown states, ADHD isn't caused by a deficit of attention, but by a deficit of stimulation. The goal of music therapy is to build up dopamine levels, strengthen networks, and activate brain muscles over time to help overall function, and this is why there is so much interest. Music as a therapeutic source is recommended by some medical professionals as complementary treatment for ADHD, along with other neurological disorders, including Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and dementia. The brain continues to develop and change well into adulthood, and opportunities for therapeutic gains even exist for people in their elder years. Conchetta Tomaino, executive director of the Institute for Music and Neurologic Function, cites the recovery made by Gabby Giffords, who used music therapy as part of her recovery strategy, and believes the brain changes and auditory stimulation can help those changes happen. I go to Longy School of Music, and they have just started a program called Music as a Healing Art. I'm going to do a second upload showing a video about the Music as a Healing Art program at Longy. Thank you.